Now, joining me in studio is Rob Dew. Rob, no wonder we have record numbers of American people for gun ownership rather than gun control. Because people say they can't trust this government.
They don't trust it, and right there is a perfect example of a public servant. A public servant hangs their head in shame when they're wrong. A government official pretends they never do any wrong, and they go about their life and pretend that it doesn't affect them. And so there you have a perfect example of a public servant. That's how our officials need to act. They need to act like public servants. And it really is scary. I've got a piece of video we're working on now, and let me tell you, the reason people want to own guns is because they know the government is gearing up for a war against them. And we're about to drop something probably Saturday or Sunday that's it's going to confirm everything we've been talking about for years.
Yeah, and I mean, you could just see with the current events and everything going on in Ferguson, and then now with Eric Garner, and then Tamir Rice, the shift was most substantial. The shift for gun ownership was most substantial among African Americans. It had a 26% increase in just the last year. It's now 54%. Even Piers Morgan is doing a little bit of backpedaling.
And we have perfect examples of the government's not going to save your property during these riots.
Exactly.
They're going to run. I mean, they're going to protect their official buildings, their public servant housing, but they're not going to protect the private property owner.
Right. People who have enough money to pay them.
Exactly.
Give them overtime.
And you know, if you bring in the Oath Keepers, some volunteers to come in and you know, watch over your business, oh, they get run off by the cops because they don't have a permit.
Right.
You need a permit to protect your property?
To help your neighbors?
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. And that's why you've got the record ownership of guns going on, especially in Ferguson. It went up 700% right before the riots kicked off.
Yeah, and they're wondering how this could have possibly happened. Piers Morgan spoke out, and he said that he admits he was too aggressive in his pursuit of gun control, and he had failed to try to understand America's culture of gun ownership. But of course, he still missed the mark because he calls it America's obsession with guns, when of course we know guns themselves are not the obsession. Freedom is. It's
an obsession of freedom. And that's what he doesn't understand because he's from England.
Right, and guns are a mark of free people.
They live under the thumb. And that's why he can't understand that, because when you are a slave, freedom seems absurd to you.
Right. He tried to tell us we should get a king.
Right. Everybody's taking care of me. All my needs are met. And I'm told what to do. I don't have to think. Oh, you Americans have this freedom, and you know, we can't have that. I mean, it's totally amazing. But it doesn't surprise me, and that's why his show failed.
Well, and it's not a wonder that people constantly are questioning the narratives that were given. People are questioning Bin Laden, Sandy Hook, all sorts of things that we're going to be talking about on the show tonight.
And coming up, we've got two different interviews coming up. We've got a couple of filmmakers who made a Sandy Hook documentary that's being censored all over the web. And then we're going to have a couple investigators who had nothing to do with the documentary, but one says, you know, he's a conspiracy theorist, but he thinks Sandy Hook happened the way they said it did. And the other one, Wolfgang Halbig, has been investigating it and has a bunch of questions that he can't get answered. And let me tell you, we've taped these interviews already. The second one's a marathon interview. So stay tuned tonight. You are going to get your money's worth. Those of you out there who are members of PrisonPlanet.tv, and we do thank you for your support. But speaking of the Bin Laden death, you brought that up. Here's a news story that's probably going to get forgotten. You know, they do this whenever they kill people. They have to put something out into the world to keep the narrative straight, and then it goes away. And so what you're looking at here, veteran Fox News journalist Dominic DiNatale dead at 43. Now, here's a guy who worked for Fox up until November 30th. That's just this, less than a month ago. I don't know if he was fired or if he resigned. They don't mention that in the article, but they said his last workday was November 30th. But he went, officials discovered DiNatale's body Wednesday after being alerted by a friend who knew his state of mind regarding a serious undisclosed health issue. So maybe he got some news that he didn't like. Who knows? But the story gets deeper. This reporter actually went to Bin Laden's compound after the supposed raid and death of Bin Laden and took a brick out of the wall and sent it to the 9/11 Museum. Wow. He provided coverage in the aftermath, including an exclusive interview with Shakil Afridi, the doctor who helped U.S. agents verify Bin Laden's presence and who remains in prison in Pakistan to this day. Now, this relates back to an article from The Guardian. CIA organized fake vaccination drive to get Osama bin Laden family's DNA. And it talks about how they set up with several doctors and nurses in the area ways. They did this fake vaccination program. They started it off in a poor area, and then they moved it around. They actually sent a nurse into the compound. There was a nurse known as Bakto, and she gained entry into the compound to administer vaccines. According to several sources, the doctor who waited outside told her to take the handbag that was fitted with an electronic device. It is not clear what the device was or whether she left it behind. It is also not known if the CIA managed to obtain any bin Laden DNA, although one source suggested the operation did not succeed. And then we even have, here's a giant bit of articles and stuff that Alex and I covered back when the Navy SEAL came out and said, I shot bin Laden. I think his name was Rob. I forget the last name. But you can check out that video right there, Navy SEALs ensnared in bin Laden death hoax. And that we just, less than a month ago, well, a little more than a month ago now, we put that out there. And we just covered all the deaths associated and all the unanswered questions, the fake videos, the fake burial at sea, everything. And now we have somebody else connected to this who ends up dying from a suicide. And they say it's an apparent suicide. There's going to be little to nothing said about this guy after this. And now that he wasn't connected to Fox as of November 30th, Fox, put out the news, oh, we're sorry, he's dead. But then you're going to see nothing about this anymore. So did this guy have information? Is that why, if he did commit suicide, did he learn that bin Laden wasn't really killed? Was he already dead? Or was he silenced because he had information that the CIA didn't want coming out? That's a lot of questions that will never get answered because they died with this guy out in his land, out in, I believe he was in Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah, Jefferson.
Yeah, and
County,
he was a
Colorado.
beloved and respected journalist who was probably doing a thorough job. And that's one of the things, you have to respect that he committed suicide. He had these undisclosed health issues. Don't ask any questions. How dare you come up with these conspiracy
You're not going to hear
theories.
anything more about this guy. I predict
Nothing more.
The news has gone out there. The news cycle is going to flood it over this weekend. It'll die over the weekend, and then we'll never hear about this guy ever again. 2 years later, something will come out saying, well, we don't know if he really committed suicide. We never found a weapon or something like that. Who knows what's going to happen? But this guy probably had some answers to go along with all the information that we've covered just by looking at different articles. And, the interviews we had with Steve Pachinik back in 2002 stating that bin Laden was already dead. Right. It's just another, it's another body. The bin Laden body count continues to grow to this day. And I don't think we'll ever learn the truth. And just like Sandy Hook, I don't think we're ever going to learn what really happened there. They've sealed all the records to this. If anybody puts them out there without the proper authorities' permission, they could face up to 5 years in jail. So I don't think you're going to see any of this stuff come to light, which is a shame. And so we've got two great interviews coming up after the break.
Yeah, so I mean, same thing with all those mysterious banker suicides. What is it now, 36th, 37th for the year. So always these things where there is a larger conspiracy, but you're not allowed to talk about it. But that's not what we do here. We do continue to get to the bottom of things, and we really don't care about someone wants to call us a truther. Oh my goodness, how dare we want the truth? Well, stick around because we do have some epic Sandy Hook coverage coming up for you. Rob Dew will be in studio for a marathon interview, and that is coming up right after this.
Sold out for weeks due to the difficult and extensive proprietary process behind its creation, the exclusive InfoWars Life Secret 12 formulation is now back in stock in the last limited shipment of 2014. The most bioactive form that has been created with our proprietary process. This ultra-clean vitamin B12 nutraceutical has been carefully crafted and developed over the last 2 years and is based on cellular science of how your body actively absorbs essential nutrients. Secret 12 is taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Vitamin B12 deficiency is linked to scores of serious problems. And Secret 12 is a fusion of two organic, proprietary forms of vitamin B12, bringing you a true nutraceutical quality vitamin B12. Secret 12. Secret 12 is an excellent Christmas gift and is tailor-made to boost your New Year's resolutions. Supplies of Secret 12 are very limited. Secure yours today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.